feel good now about the Rockets being 3-2 and moving their way up.
Yeah, absolutely. This entire week reminded me of the old Daryl Morey quote, good teams don't win close games, they avoid them. They've won their last 3 games all by at least 18 points, average margin of close to 25. So it's not just that they're winning, it's how they're winning, going out and taking care of business. And let's be clear off the top, they had a rest advantage tonight. One thing they needed to do this week was take advantage of these situations where teams like the Nets and the Celtics were on night 2 of a back-to-back. The Rockets don't actually have that many throughout the season. So these were 2 of, I believe, only 7, which is, I think, tied for the fewest in the NBA. So they won't have too many huge rest advantages throughout the season. They did this week, and they went out and took care of business. And I think, I don't care who you play, when you win 3 straight games by an average margin of more than 20 per game, you're doing a lot right. And to me, what was most fulfilling tonight is that it was a two-way performance. The first 3 quarters of that game, they gave up just 72 points. And Boston's a team, they try and get to the 3-point edge as much as they can. Through the first 3 quarters, they shot just 10 of 30 from 3. So the Rockets denied the volume. They denied the accuracy. Jabari Smith Jr. was fantastic with 4 blocks. I just think this was a Rockets team that was better on paper, and they went out and took care of business. And one other stat I want to point out, the per quarter stats have not updated yet at NBA.com, but going into tonight, the Rockets were actually 3rd in the NBA in net rating in the 3rd quarter, a ridiculous margin of like plus 28 per game in net rating. I don't think that's going to be hurt tonight because they were up, I think, 16 or 18 at the half, and they were up, I believe, 25 at the end of the 3rd quarter. And this is what good teams do. Like, they don't let an outman team or a fatigue team, whatever the case may be, hang around. The Rockets took care of business out of the half, and they were able to play the end of the bench in the 4th quarter because of it. So I thought this was just a very workmanlike, professional win. It helps when shots go in. Look, Reed Shepherd made 4 of 5 threes. Tari Eason made 4 of 6. Josh Okogie made 3 of 5. If your role players are putting in threes at that extent, you're going to have a good night pretty much no matter who you play. But I just think the Rockets going out and taking care of business the way they did. By the way, that 3rd quarter stat, the 2 teams ahead of the Rockets going into tonight, I mentioned they were plus 28. Somehow 2 teams were slightly better. It's the Nuggets and the Warriors. The Warriors, for years, we talked about how dominant they are in the 3rd quarters. The Nuggets, I think, have a lot of similarities in that both of these teams are very veteran-laden. They're good at adjusting midway through a game. They sort of feel their way through the first couple of quarters, and then, they know that putting away weaker opponents early is what good teams do. That's what the Rockets did tonight, and I feel really good about this one.
Yeah, this looked like a really good team. I think we talked about the offense coming into this game. Rockets #1 in the league in offensive rating. It's been 4 games, so you have to take that with a grain of salt. But at the same time, it's very, very encouraging sign. And tonight they come in, and the defense has been kind of slipping, falling to 19th on the year in defensive rating. Tonight, as you said, this was on both ends of the floor. Rockets really play well. We'll kind of dissect both ends of it there, but 19 of 29 from 3-point range. Rockets now #1 in the league. Again, it's early in 3-point shooting. I think there were people out there that predicted the Rockets would struggle from 3 this year. Hasn't happened so far. Jabari's been good. Şengün has added that element to his game, although I think tonight he's just 1 for 3. Same with Jabari. But KD's now starting to come around. Reed Shepherd tonight hit 4 triples, as you pointed out. Rockets just on both ends of the floor were great. And it started with Kevin Durant tonight. He hit 7 of 8 to start the game. And just it felt like a wave had hit Boston. And Rockets defensively, as you pointed out, were really good. I mean, Boston is a team that isn't super efficient from 3-point range, but they are #1 in volume. They shoot the most threes in the league. And Rockets contained them. I believe tonight they were 14 of 44 from 3-point range, just 31.8%.
And 14 of those attempts came in the 4th quarter when it was basically garbage time. And Jordan Wall hit a couple of threes at the end of the game that nobody cares about.
Yeah, absolutely. And matter of fact, I put together a few clips tonight just of the defense. I was really impressed. And you mentioned Jabari. We're going to talk about Jabari as well in this game. But here he just shut down Jaylen Brown drive, forced him to pick up his dribble, forced him into a turnover. This block was something else. I mean, yeah. And of course it helped with Hollins and Ackerman with their reactions, but leading to the immense slam off the Şengün feed. This defense here, look at the perimeter defense, the way the Rockets contain these guys. They break it eventually, and Şengün comes over for a weak side block. like really impressive defensively there as well. Just the defense tonight, like I said, was very encouraging. Another block here from Jabari, 4 blocks from Jabari Smith Jr. tonight. Defensively, the Rockets just had it going on, and it was a blowout. It was never close. We're going to see some better tests, but these are getting better. The last 3 games, Rockets now on a 3-game win streak.
And I think the rim protection of Jabari is so important with this new look starting lineup, because we mentioned the concept of attacking the weak link in the chain. Well, they haven't started the double big in any of these 3 consecutive wins. And I think tonight that was especially important, because if you start the double big, that's going to be something that Joe Mazzulla and the Celtics will target. Knowing it's night 2 of a back-to-back, they will just try and spam you with as many threes as possible and hope that it's a night that they're hitting. We saw in that win over the Cavs the other night, they hit 21 of 57. So the Rockets couldn't afford, as much as I love Steven Adams, to go double big tonight and risk this being a night where the Celtics catch fire, and before you know it, things sort of spiral in a good way for them. So they had to go with Josh Okogie in the starting 5. And to Josh's credit, look, he made 3 of 5 threes. Josh shot 35% on threes last season. And I said basically all summer, ever since the Rockets signed him, if that is sustainable, if he is a 35% plus or better shooter from 3, he's going to play way more than people think, because that perimeter defense is just so valuable. And so if you're not starting the double big and you're instead starting Josh Okogie, who is a fantastic perimeter defender, then I guess the only areas that you can sort of attack, and I'm not calling these guys weaknesses, but I guess they're the weakest among the starting 5, would be Şengün and KD, because KD sort of functions as a big defender. So I guess, the easiest matchup you can get, and it's certainly not easy, would be trying to, attack KD or Şengün on a switch, some sort of ball screen action. And in that case, if you have one of your other 3 guys, you certainly don't want to attack Amen Thompson, Josh Okogie, or Jabari Smith. And so if one or more of those other 3 guys, which Jabari certainly is, and Amen can as well, if they're capable of defending the rim, I don't know what you're supposed to do, because the best thing a team like the Celtics could get going for them, maybe you pull Şengün or KD away from the basket and try to get a 3 or beat them off the dribble and, make that dribble penetration issue rear its ugly head again. I mean, if Jabari is capable of rotating over and protecting the rim the way he did tonight, then that starting 5 with Okogie as your ace defender on the wing, I don't know what you can do. I mean, Amen Thompson's capable of being a rim protector as well if he needs to slide over. It's just, I don't know what the Celtics could have done. To me, that was a really encouraging defensive performance. And in the macro, look, this team entered tonight ranked 1st in offense and 19th in defense. We figured there was some small sample size theater to it. It's not what Ime Udoka will put up with for that long.
Right.
The stats have not updated, but they're going to be higher than 19th after tonight. I promise you that.
Yeah, no question. And it's funny, Bra Lee in the live chat had asked, this question, and it's actually in my notes. Is he says, does Okogie deserve to start even after DFS gets back? My point, or what I noted down, wasn't does he deserve to start, is he feels like a permanent rotation fixture. He has played his way into Ime Udoka's rotation. He earned his trust right away. We saw that in the preseason and right out of the gate in the season. I don't know who is going to lose time. Maybe some of Reed, maybe somebody else. I don't know. But I don't think Okogie's going to be sitting and watching. I think he's become an important player for him. Now, DFS is really good. We'll see what ends up happening. But Josh Okogie has made it difficult as for opposing players. He's a really good on-ball point of attack defender. And he's knocking down threes. What did he end up hitting tonight? 3 for 5.
3 of 5. Yeah.
And I was just like, wow. They were Şengün finding him, Amen finding him, KD. Tonight was like an Okogie night for me. Like, I think there was a vision of like, he's going to play even after DFS gets back. I don't know about start, but I think he's going to keep playing.
Yeah. And I think it makes so much sense for him to start at least until DFS gets back. Now, even when DFS gets back, I don't know if he's going to be 100% right away, but I just think that Okogie gives you the highest floor. Like the other options that you have right now, I don't think they want to start Tari Eason, and let's give Tari his flowers. He's been really, really good this week. I think it's clear that they like his spark coming off the bench, and he can plug multiple holes. If somebody gets in early foul trouble, then that's a starting level player you can put in. And so your other 2 options are either Steven Adams and going double big, or Reed Shepherd and going with more floor spacing, more ball handling. But in both of those, there's a trade-off. You might have more shooting, you might have more rebounding, but how's the defense going to hold up? Josh Okogie gives you a really high floor. And when you have a big four, we talked about this during the game, Dave. They're making a point that it's not a big three, it's a big four with as well as Jabari has played this week.
Yeah.
And if you already have the four, then it's important at the other spot to have a really high floor. And that doesn't mean that Steven or Reed, that they're not going to play. But when you bring them off the bench, it's easier to limit the minutes if it's a bad matchup. Whoever you start is going to have a very high floor of minutes, especially alongside those other four starters that are entrenched. And so I think Josh Okogie, if he is shooting threes at a passable level, it's almost impossible for him to give you negative minutes. Like worst case, he's going to be pretty good. And if he makes threes the way he did tonight, he's going to be very good. And so because of that, yeah, for the foreseeable future, and really even when DFS comes back, I think the goal is going to be having him in peak form by the playoffs. So I would guess they want him to start off the bench just to sort of ease his way back in from a minutes total. So yeah, I could see, I doubt Ime Udoka is going to say he has an entrenched starting five. They'll say what they've been saying, that it's matchup dependent. They could change. But I think as long as Josh Okogie is shooting 35% plus from three, and right now he's way above that, it's going to be hard to take him out of the lineup when you consider how good the other four starters are.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned what I wanted to talk about next because I jotted this down too. Jabari was good enough tonight. You look at the box, and there's impressive things in it, but it's not like this overwhelming thing. But I kind of feel like the way that Jabari is impacting the game is this kind of becoming a big four. I don't want to jump way ahead of it, but it feels that way. I mean, he even got pulled and kind of rested when they, before Şengün and Amen. Now Şengün and Amen were kind of, cranking up the numbers, and they were going for a triple double. Both of them were quite close tonight. I think Şengün was 1 assist shy, and Amen was 2 assists and a rebound shy of a triple double.
By the way, it's crazy how even on a team with Kevin Durant, it feels like opposing defenses are treating Alperen Şengün like he's the top guy on the scouting report. Like, at least in this 3-game winning streak, it feels like every team has come out trying to limit him as a scorer. And he's just sort of been like, okay, then let's get the other guys better shots. And they've made those. So kudos to Alpi. He's not forcing the issue. If he's drawing multiple defenders and other guys are getting open shots and making them, I mean, that's the sign of a mature star level player. He doesn't need to get stats, at least in this case, scoring stats for the sake of his own vanity. No, if his teammates are getting good shots and the team is winning, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Şengün was really good tonight finding the open guy. Yep. He did have some turnovers, 4, I guess, but 9 assists. And he was very inefficient, not effective scoring tonight. It's funny you mentioned that because I do see some of what you're saying. There are times where the defenders, the opposing team doubles Şengün away from the basket, leaving somebody like KD or whatever. But my point is tonight, Şengün was really good finding the open guy. There was that stretch, I think late third, might have been early fourth, where they put him in without KD and he just rattled off 3 assists, I think on 3 straight possessions. It was very much a point Şengün, not Şenhub type of moment. He was very, very effective there. But, on Jabari, I just feel like he's kind of even deeper in that circle of trust. He's become one of the most valuable players for Ime Udoka. I don't know if he's, superstar level potential like, say KD or men type of thing, but I think he's playing his way into that, very top players for the Rockets.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he is in that innermost circle of trust. And even last year, it felt like there were games and in the playoffs, he averaged, I think, about 20 minutes per game. So there was a question of just how much Ime trusted him. I think it's pretty clear that, and Ime said all off season that he had seen really good things from Jabari. And I think the leash that he's gotten to start this year, Jabari has started to see the ball go through the bucket a little bit more the last couple of games. But even when he wasn't scoring at a high level, he was still playing a ton of minutes. And I think that speaks to, well, first, the defense that he provides, but also the trust that he has accrued in Ime Udoka, that even if he's not shooting the ball well, and, the one question you can have with this team, the 2 games they lost, I know they were the good teams, but there was this theme of can they execute in the half court late in a close game against a good defense? They don't have a traditional point guard. And I think it's noteworthy that in both of those games, Jabari hit a huge 3 when it looked like the Rockets were done. in, I think it was the first overtime in Oklahoma City, and then late in the Pistons game as well when they were down 5 with, I think, 2 minutes to go, and he brought him back within a possession. So Jabari's hit some big shots late in games when it felt like the Rockets were on the ropes. And so the fact that he did that on top of all of his other gifts as a defender, as a team player, I think you're right. That's putting him in that innermost circle of trust. I don't know if he's Paolo Banchero or Chet Holmgren in terms of other top 3 picks from that same 22 draft class, but he's on track to be a really good player. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you mentioned that. It's one of the things I really loved about Jabari at Auburn and really liked for the Rockets is I kind of envisioned him being that big shot maker. There was a play, another tonight. We've only seen it a few times this year, but we're seeing it more. There was a play with Şengün out, and Jabari kind of becomes the Şengün in a way of like being the post presence and players playing around him. And I think it was KD kind of trying to find him, quick pass to Adams over to the right. Adams dumped it into Jabari. He turns around, fires from 10, 11 feet. It's a clip I posted on Twitter. We're seeing more of that. And that's what I want to see out of Jabari is kind of the go-to scorer, not the number 1 or the number 2 for this team necessarily, but having that ability when some of those guys do sit out. So love what I'm seeing from Jabari early on. All of these guys, Şengün, Jabari, Amen, all have really improved. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I was just going to point out Amen. He made 6 of 12 shots tonight and had 17 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, and 50% shooting. The plus minus has been there all season long for Amen in terms of how he's impacted each game. But from an efficiency standpoint, he hadn't delivered. Tonight he did, and he also made at least 1 3. Did he make a second? Yeah. I think he made a second.
Yeah. I think he only shot 1 is what the box shows. But
oh, okay. I thought he had a second for some reason. No, you're right. 1 of 1. But
his first of the year, by the way.
Yeah. But yeah, he finally got the results. And sometimes even if the plus minus is there, you need to have a 50% plus shooting night to feel good about yourself, especially when, the big concern that people have about you on the scouting report is, can you shoot well enough? Well, this was a reminder that yes, he can finish. And yes, if he's wide open from the corner, he can shoot and knock down that shot. Yeah,
Tari, as you mentioned, hit 4 threes, 4 of 6. And then I got to play the clip, just a couple of these, but Reed Sheppard tonight was 4 for 4, ended up going 4 for 5, but hit his first 4 triples. Looking a little bit Matt Maloney-ish out there, finding the open space, catch and shoot, quick fire. That was a nice night for Reed Sheppard. Granted, it wasn't necessarily like he, changed the game or anything, but he really knocked him down tonight. And
I mean, it's exactly what we were saying on the post game following the Toronto one, where he shot 2 of 7. If he makes 4 of 7, and tonight he made 4 or 5, it's an entirely different conversation. Whatever issues there are with his size and defensive mobility and propensity for fouls, if he's knocking down threes, and the scouting report out of Kentucky suggests that he should, this was a guy going into the 24 draft that was billed as a generational level shooting prospect. If he's knocking down threes at this clip, he's going to play, and he's going to play a lot, even at 21 years old, especially for this particular team that has a deficiency in terms of ball handling. He just needs to knock down shots. And, it's not all him, to the credit of the Rockets. I thought, what was their overall total tonight, Dave? We mentioned it earlier, but they
from
shot
threes, 19 to 29.
Yeah, 19 of 29. So that speaks to the quality of looks they were generating. I saw Nathan Fogg over on Blue Sky saying that he guessed this was the most open corner threes the Rockets had generated since the Harden years. He's probably right on that. Like, these were really, really good looks up and down the roster, and it speaks to how well they were playing collectively. But yeah, like Reed's I mentioned several in the Toronto game they didn't hit. Tonight he did. Good for him. If he shoots like that, he's going to be fine. And the Rockets as a team, with how good they are defensively at every other spot, are going to have enough to easily sustain it.
Yeah, and I will say, as a small little thing I'll just throw out there to cause trouble, if you are pursuing Derek White down the line, which they love him, he's the very high price tag, so I can't see it happening. Certainly didn't hurt that Reed played well. Everybody played exceptionally well for the Rockets. So on a showcase level, all of that was really good tonight. But I came away so encouraged from this game because I did expect this to be a little bit closer. I expected Boston to play well. Boston had just beaten Philly in a close one. They had won 3 straight after a really rough start. They don't have Porzingis. They don't have Horford anymore. Jason Tatum's out. It's not the same Boston Celtics team, but you have Jaylen Brown. Pritchard has played very well. It's a better test. There will be tougher tests, but this was a good win for the Rockets to get on the road and to knock out both of these games. Now you come back home for Dallas, I believe, and then
Without Anthony Davis.
Okay, that's right. Anthony Davis
Cap
is out.
strain. He's already been ruled out. Yep.
And then I think it's Memphis, and John Morant will be coming back from a 1-game suspension, I believe, for that game. But those are just the warm-ups for what we're really excited about, and that's on November 7th, Rockets versus Spurs, the first NBA Cup game, I believe, for the Rockets.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that game. On the backdrop of Reed Shepherd, it's Reed has to prove to be a starting level point guard and a guy who can knock down shots to ever really be proven better than Steph Castle. I mean, I think it's very early. It's very early. I'm saying that's what he needs to prove to be that. And Steph Castle hasn't, he's advanced a little bit further, but he hasn't proven necessarily anything at this point yet either. But, it's a great test on so many levels. This is going to become a huge rivalry. I mean, it always was in the past, right? The old David Robinson Akeem days. But now I think it's going to be serious.
For
the
sure.
Wemby thing and Houston, and of course everything. The whole Sohan and Jeremy Sohan. What he said about Houston. I think this is going to be a great game. I'm really looking forward to that one. Not to jump ahead, but
Emirates NBA Cup 2025 fever. Everybody has it. Come on, Dave.
Yeah, I'm still not. I mean, I'm enjoying the hype around it, but I'm still not into this. Like, okay, you win the cup. It's cool. What does it necessarily mean if you don't win the NBA Finals?
I will say, I think that's a Amazon exclusive game. So unfortunately, we won't have Craig, Ryan, and Vanessa. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it's Amazon exclusive. So that'll be a little bit of a downer. A couple other things I wanted to address from the chat before we wrap up. Totally agree with you on the Spurs being a huge early season litmus test. Not much else to say beyond that until we actually see them, roll the ball out next Friday night. A couple of questions about roster scenarios moving forward. Someone was asking about the Fred VanVleet injury exception. So if they do get the injury exception, it doesn't mean anything in terms of his availability to return. All it means is that an NBA designated physician says it's more likely than not that he'll still be out when the season ends at its latest point, meaning when the NBA Finals end next June. It doesn't mean he can't come back. It just means that more likely than not, the average player would not make it back from his injury by that time. And I think that's reasonable. The average ACL return in the NBA is between 9 and 10 months, and that would take you into, next July. So I think it's pretty clear that the Rockets will get that injury exception. And no, the money, to answer the questions on the screen now, it would not go back to Tillman Fertitta because they're not actually getting the money. It's like a trade exception that they have the ability to use. However, they can't right now because it doesn't move them off of the first apron. When they used the non-taxpayer mid-level to sign Dorian Finney-Smith, they became hard capped at the first apron. And even if you get the injury exception, it doesn't make you not hard capped. So from that standpoint, it doesn't really help them. However, where it could be beneficial down the line, if they are able to shed salary, they can use the injured exception, not just to sign someone, but to trade for someone. And where that's really helpful is if someone's trying to offload a salary, let's say a nice, $8 to $10 million player on a team that's going nowhere. And so if they can save a few bucks, they might as well. Maybe the Rockets can toss in, cover your ears, David Weiner, but a second round pick or two. The Rockets wouldn't be able to take in that player now, but you wouldn't necessarily have to give them, say, Clint Capella, Aaron Holiday, Jayshawn Tate, Jeff Green, some combination of those guys. You could actually send them to some other team. And there's tons of tiny exceptions that you can offload those types of players into around the league. So the bottom line is what that injury exception will allow you to do, you won't have to trade salary necessarily to the team you are getting a player from. You would need to trade salary somewhere, but it could be any of the other 28 teams around the league. So it could potentially expand your options. It's not so much that that Tillman would get the money if they don't spend it. No, it's not that. It's sort of conditional on other scenarios and other moves. But it's a nice tool, and there's no reason not to pursue it. There's no downside. There's only upside.
Better
so you might as well get it. And if you're Rafael Stone, just have it in your back pocket just in case as we get beyond December 15th and into the start of NBA trade season when guys who sign new contracts in the offseason can become trade eligible. And then a few other comments from the chat about the potential of trading Fred VanVleet. I really don't think the issue is going to be his willingness to be traded. He has the implied no trade because he signed the 1+1, but I think the bigger issue is going to be valuation. Like, Fred's not playing this year, and if he doesn't like where he goes, he can become a free agent next summer, Dave. So if the Rockets basically say, we don't want you here, he has the ability to become a free agent next summer if he doesn't like where he's going. And
maybe he can get more than 25 million. That's the harder part, but yeah.
I mean, that's what I was thinking. Like, the player option does complicate it a little bit, but I don't see a world in which that is the impediment. What I think would be the problem, the Rockets are not going to treat Fred like he's a neutral to bad asset. The Rockets really believe in Fred VanVleet as a player. They really like him as a player. And so him coming back a year from now is not the worst case scenario to Rafael Stone. Like, he would be a valued offseason addition. Even if he doesn't play this year, he just stays on your books. The Rockets aren't going to use him as, salary filler that's considered neutral to even negative because he's not playing to go out and make an upgrade for 2025. Like, that's just not the way Rafael Stone and Patrick Fertitta look at value. And so, like, I forget what publication it was, but somebody had like Fred VanVleet and 3 or 4 first-round picks and one of the young core guys for De'Aaron Fox. There is no way in hell.
Yeah,
That's
no.
not, like, the Rockets are not going to go all in for 2025 because Fred's going to be back next year and they think he's going to be a good player next year. Like, he's not the shiftiest guy to begin with. He's not the most explosive. Like, they genuinely believe, be it late this season or next season, they are going to have Fred VanVleet back and he is eventually going to be a good part of this team. So they're not averse. Like, if you can bring in Derek White, great. But, like, it would basically be a 1-season upgrade. Would they pay a little bit of a premium? Yes. But as we saw in the Kevin Durant talks, like, they're not going to mortgage everything for 1 season, maybe half of a season, which is the delta between the player you bring in and when Fred VanVleet comes back. So the question becomes, what team around the NBA would value Fred at a positive level? I'm just not sure it all comes into alignment because if you look at it from the other team's perspective, look, like, Fred doesn't fit on a lot of teams. The player option gives him leverage. If he doesn't like the situation, he could ask out, or he wouldn't have to ask out. He could just leave.
And Ben, to add to this, I see a lot of talk, and I know we're off on the trade thing for just a second, but I see a lot of people saying, Ja Morant in Houston just perfect because I do think Ja is heading his way out. I could see the Pelicans or something like that really going hard for him, but I don't think Houston would be seeking Ja Morant. Although maybe a year or two ago I would have thought differently, but I don't think that's at all what they would be looking for now. Even if they did cobble together the salary after December, I don't know this for a fact. I just don't think he is who they would look for. Now, Derek White, I think that's different. Like, Derek White is the less is more, do lots of things off the ball, all of that kind of stuff. Has basically a relationship with Ime Udoka, great for the culture and all of that stuff. I just don't think the Ja thing will happen. And just one other thing, and this is really more your point, Ben, but you have a good one. We're talking about the Rockets needing a point guard. They're also the number 1 offense in the NBA, at least as of this moment.
Exactly.
So, they're doing pretty well. Now, there are going to be tougher tests. We'll see. A lot of this was inflated by the Raptor games and the Brooklyn games, but tonight they did it against Boston. Let's see how this plays out before we, say for sure they need something, because their offense right now is not an issue.
Right, absolutely. Where they missed Fred is on the defensive end, and that's where someone like Derek White potentially could make sense. It's just tough for the value to line up unless the Celtics like Fred. And these other names that get thrown out, like De'Aaron Fox, like Ja Morant, it's not that they're bad players, but this is a Rockets team that already has plenty of firepower. What they need is not a ball handler, at least at this point in time. Now, maybe we learn more over the next couple of months, and if they start struggling offensively, then we can have a different conversation in December or January. But based on what we're seeing right now, no, I don't think getting a point guard just for the sake of getting a name point guard is something that Rafael Stone is trying to do. Like, they're playing well right now. They like the offense. They were very good defensively tonight. I think the ideal is just to run with the status quo and welcome Fred back, ideally by the end of this season, worst case in the offseason. He wants to be here. The Rockets value him. And so that, to me, is it would be the difficulty in getting a Fred deal done. I mean, I still think that in a world where if the Rockets wanted to move him, he has the flexibility to become a free agent. I think there's a deal that could get done. And he's someone where, even if the player option becomes a factor, I mean, he could easily leverage a buyout in that final year, basically a 1 year expiring. Guys in Fred's situation get buyouts all the time and can get to a contender of his choice midway through the year. Like, I just don't see Fred's willingness to be traded as the big problem here. I think it's more, is a deal going to make sense to where the value would line up for the Rockets to think it's worthwhile? And then these trade hypotheticals that are going out right now with the Rockets basically using Fred as just like a trade exception. No, the Rockets still like Fred VanVleet, the player. You can disagree with them if, more power to you, but they really like it.
Yeah. And Bradley says Drew Holiday would be perfect. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he would. He's also doing really well for Portland, and Portland's looking quite good at the moment as well. They're kind of like the Spurs are quite the surprise team. I'll just throw out there that, if you did get Derek White, it would certainly be one more wrinkle to add to a Rockets Spurs rivalry. If you brought him here,
True.
It would be kind of fun as well. But man, great win tonight. Absolutely took care of business in Boston. Ben, appreciate you doing this. Anything you want to say before we wrap up tonight?
3 more outs, Blue Jays, please.
Yes,
to address
I'm
the elephant in the room, I am watching, but I chose to record live tonight. You know why? Because we recorded live during Game 7 of the Blue Jays Seattle series when Springer hit the 3-run home run. So for the sake of vibes, he's up again. Let's hope we can get one more big win for the Blue Jays to eliminate all of the Astros' hated rivals.
Absolutely. We're all Canadians tonight. Let's go, Blue Jays. Thanks, everybody. Rockets get a big win tonight. We will see y'all Monday after the Rockets take on Cooper Flagg and the Dallas Mavericks. Have a great night, everybody.